Oh, we had an issue over on the YouTube. All right, here we go. While technical difficulties are a real thing, what's up, y'all? We're gonna run this back from the jump. It's your boy Ryan. We're here back again on The Antidote. This is where we analyze life's current events, and we look for ways that we might be able to come together, move through it in a manner that gets us closer together, builds community, without sacrificing our integrity, without sacrificing our morals. Sometimes people are the ops, but we got to give them the chance to not be the ops. So if you're joining us on TikTok, what's up, wonderful people? I see you, Four Dogs Design, Leanna, Bon, how you doing? Wanda Coleman, how you doing? Thanks for being here. Go ahead and like this, invite with your friends. We got a great show tonight. If you're joining on YouTube, thank you for being here. Go ahead and drop something in the chat. Let us know. We are taking questions. You'll see me going back and forth. I'm taking questions. And we'll make sure I get to those. Always the end of the show is dedicated to questions. Yeah, so we're gonna get into it. Your boy is tired tonight, and I want to make sure I have enough energy to get to all the tomfoolery going on. What's up, Annie? What's going on? Make sure you like this. No matter what platform you're on. So tonight's first story, y'all, we're gonna talk about Justin Eichorn. Justin Eichorn's goofy ass is a Minnesota state representative. He is setting the bar for white mediocrity very, very high. This goofball is one of the co-signers of Trump derangement syndrome being introduced into law in Minnesota. Yes, that's a real thing. It was supposed to be tongue-in-cheek. It's supposed to kind of piss the libtards off and get the snowflakes riled up. And I guess maybe he did that. There was people who were like, yo, this is crazy. What is happening right now? But then he demonstrated what we all know to be true about mediocre white men, is that they ain't shit. They just ain't shit. And so he went and got himself arrested for what? Soliciting a minor. That's right, y'all. He did his best Drake, probably a minor. He is soliciting a minor. He thought it was a 16-year-old. Tried to pick her up over there on 494 and American Boulevard in Bloomington, Minnesota. This dude is a goofball of all goofballs, right? And it would be enough to just say that. But here on The Antidote, we like to try to talk about, well, what do we do from here? How did this happen and how do we repair? And so here's my thing, Justin. He can't even call him Representative Eichorn anymore. I believe he resigned. The Republican Party of Minnesota did the right thing and called for his resignation. He's going to go to jail, y'all. This man's going to go to jail. He's going to do Fed time. And as a prison abolitionist, I'm not happy about that. I don't think it leads to rehabilitation. But I like to see the justice system applied to mediocre white men the same way it's applied to folks that I grew up with and who don't look like me. And even folks who look like me that didn't have the ends for proper representation and all that. I like to see chickens come home to roost, as they say. But my man, when you get out or when you're in there, I hope you spend some time reflecting on what it meant when you accepted white masculinity, when you accepted all the things that whiteness told you. What do I mean by that? I mean that you accepted that you were somehow a rugged individual, that you were not responsible to anybody or anything, and that you were not accountable to anybody or anything. And so you move in this world as if it's yours, free from consequence, free from responsibility, and also free from meaning, free from connection, free from love, free from community. And what does that leave us with, Justin? It leaves us desperately searching for those things, to the point that we are soliciting prostitution from a minor, right? This is the damage that whiteness does. This is the damage that particularly white masculinity does. We don't know how to be in community, and we're desperately searching for connection, but we don't know how to do that. And so, Justin, I don't know if it's too late for you, my guy. I really don't. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. What I do know for other white men out there watching this is that it ain't too late for y'all. It ain't too late for us. we can choose something different. We can say, no, I am not going to imagine myself as a rugged individual. I am not going to play along with this pulled myself up from the bootstraps narrative. I'm going to be better together. I'm going to understand power as being power together. And then we can show up different, and we can stop causing the harm that we're causing, right? And we can stop making up things like the Trump derangement syndrome. This is what this is whiteness deflecting and trying to make sure. What's up, Boston Beauty? Appreciate you. What up, Keys? What up, Kelly? Hey, like this and share with your friends. Please tell them to join. That's how we get more love. That's how the algorithm knows. Excuse me. got a little tickle in my throat. Back to this Justin Eichorn and Trump derangement syndrome. It's really important that we know this, that we know that Trump derangement syndrome is just white men trying to hold on to their anger, trying to hold on to what they feel makes them valuable, makes them worthy. And it's a sad, pathetic thing. It is a sad, pathetic thing, right? Because all that is a response to community saying, hey, y'all are harming us. Saying, hey, these policies are not good. Saying, hey, this is fascist. This is fascist. And if you don't think that we're living under fascism, I don't know what that word even means, right? I'm a historian. I'm a scholar. I do this. This is fascism by any definition. What's up, Ian? What's up, Better Than Goldie? Chase, thank you so much for being here. Go ahead and like this. Invite your friends. That really helps us out. So Trump derangement syndrome should be understood as just whiteness insulating itself, protecting itself, defensiveness, saying, hey, any critiques of a white man are got to be mental illness, right? You should understand it as the legacy of drapetomania, which was the way white people said the urge for enslaved Africans to be free was a mental illness. This is what white people do. This is what whiteness does. We try to make movements and desire for peace and community and justice. We call that sick and insane, when the reality is whiteness is what's sick. Whiteness is what is insane. And it's incumbent upon us, white folks, to do something about it, right? So, yeah, Justin Eichorn, whiteness's latest victim. We could chuckle a little bit about this, but really we got to take it seriously. Make sure no other white men fall into this, where we are out there soliciting prostitution from a minor in order to fill the void that whiteness leaves in us. I also don't want to leave out patriarchy and toxic masculinity. That's a huge part of this too. But when you're an asshole, the way whiteness makes white men an asshole, it's hard to go find a partner. You know, there's just that part. So, yeah. So that's our first story tonight, y'all, is Justin Eichorn and Trump derangement syndrome. Any questions? I'm seeing folks. Again, you can join here on YouTube. You can join on TikTok. Jay Dino, thanks for being here. Nikki, thanks for being here. Chase, Jerk J Love, and then I don't know what this one is. Charazden, thanks for being here. Go ahead and give this a like. I really, really appreciate it. Like this live, and then share with your friends. We really appreciate it. I'm getting some roses. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Let's keep it pushing, y'all. Let's keep it pushing. So our next story has to do with the attacks on DEI. So we were off last week. And so last week what we saw was the dismantling of Black Lives Matter Plaza in Washington, D.C. It was dismantled. And if you don't know what that was, Black Lives Matter Plaza was in big gold letters, Black Lives Matter on the street. You probably seen it in pictures and stuff. You might not have known that it was in D.C. or that that's what the name of it was. But federal funding was being withheld from D.C. if they didn't change that, if they didn't dismantle that. And so since our last show, that has since happened, very sadly. But the attack on DEI continues, right? It's important to note that, what's up, Strawberry Frog? It's important to note that the courts are siding uh, with the people and against Trump, right? It's really important to know. Now, they're using some legal jargon for it, right? Like, this law should be interpreted narrowly, but for the most part, they have said, like, yo, a lot of this is unconstitutional. What's up, Anthony? Thanks for being here. And so it's super important to know that, even though it doesn't feel like that, right? But the courts are siding. Now, the courts siding against Trump mattering is a whole nother story, y'all, because the courts can't enforce their own decisions, right? And so what are we going to do about it is super important, right? And we're going to talk about all of those things briefly later in the show. I want to get to this story, though, about Arlington National Cemetery, right? For lots of folks, they were saying that, what's up, Mystic Roots? They're saying that the attacks on DEI are not about attacks on civil rights or equality or justice. They're saying we already have those things, and DEI is swung too far and is now oppressing white folks. Now, that's nonsense. I want to be clear about that. That's nonsense. But that's what they're saying. And if there weren't such a mountain of evidence, that might be that might be a worthy point to engage. But we're gonna jump in here and talk about the mountain of evidence that makes it painfully obvious that this is really just about enshrining white masculinity, right? This is just about enshrining white masculinity. So let's jump to Arlington National Cemetery. The graves of notable black veterans have been erased from their website, right? This is in line with lots of black pioneers, civil rights people, things like that they have been erased as well. Now, it's really important to understand why this is happening, okay? This is happening because when you say somebody's the first black X, Y, or Z, right? Like they took down the Tuskegee Airmen site, all of that. The reason they're doing that is because it naturally leads to the question that why were they the first, right? Why were they the first? And it points to the oppression and the discrimination and the exclusion that marks American society. So white men, particularly whiteness in general, and white men particularly as the leading edge of whiteness, are very, very invested in making sure that that history isn't told, in making sure that nobody notices that, hey, this was extremely exclusionary, that they don't want a diverse story, right? So when we say they're anti-DEI, and we actually name what DEI is, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and we ask people, are you actually against that? The answer that they need to tell us is yes, because that is what their actions tell us they are doing, that they believe in, right? When you want to erase pioneers or the first people to have access to something after being systematically excluded, right? What you're saying is that they don't matter, that their story doesn't matter, that you don't want people to know the circumstances that they had to overcome, right? And so what we have here is the fragile white male ego, like this dude Rib in the comments, right? And we're not going to feed the trolls tonight. If you're in the comments, go ahead. But what's happening here is that mediocre white men don't want to compete or be judged at the standard where everybody else is at. if folks like Donald Trump, Marco Rubio, Elon Musk, any of these people actually had to compete without the advantages of whiteness within white supremacy, they know that they would be found lacking. They are ridiculous. They're shells of themselves, right? They are Nepo babies. They're trust fund kids. Tucker Carlson falls in that mix. So many of these people fall in this mix. What's up, Strawberry Frog? Shimmy Shim, how you doing? Carmen, how you doing? And they fall in this mix, and they know that the only way that they maintain their social status is to exclude the vast majority of the world, because they can't compete. They actually don't have the merit that it would take to compete in meritocracy. And so what do they have to do? They have to rely on white supremacy. They have to rely on whiteness and the idea that they are better than, that they're superior, without ever having to prove it, right? And I can hear some of y'all out there right now, but what are you talking about? Elon Musk, for example, has a big brain. Piers Morgan says he has a big brain all the time. Man, Piers Morgan be pissing me off. But here's the deal. Elon Musk didn't start not one of them companies, right? He got family money from an emerald mine. Where? South Africa. He's an Afrikaner, son of apartheid, one of the most vicious white supremacist systems in human history. No wonder he's out here doing the Nazi salutes, advocating for far-right Nazi parties in Germany, calling for judges who don't agree with him to be impeached, because he can't make arguments. Trump can't put together a sentence, let alone make an argument. And so these things are obvious on the face of them, right? And it takes whiteness to twist and distort the most obvious understandings into being what we have right here. Look at civilization. Don't be stupid, bro. I'm unclear what you're talking about. Look at civilization. What part of civilization would you like me to look at? I'm unclear what you're talking about here. So yeah, man, we need to understand these attacks on DEI. Most recently, the stripping and the erasure of blackness in Arlington National Cemetery. It's not gonna stop there. It's gonna continue. But these things are what they are. Be on our best Dennis Green impression, right? They are who we thought we were. They are who we thought they were. They are who they told us they were. That's the wild thing, is all these white people being like, I didn't know that it was going to be like this. What do you mean you didn't know? And I get the frustration, but I'm here, now, so let's do better now, right? But they are who they told us they were going to be. And it's brutal. They're hurt. And I hope they don't push us to the point that we got to do what we got to do. I hope we can figure this out. I hope we can heal together and live in a world free from oppression and violence and hatred. Look at all of the world's civilizations, like Timbuktu. Who's the richest person in history, Rib? This is where white people show their ass in the comment sections, y'all. They show their ass in the comment sections. All right. So let's keep it moving, y'all. Let's keep it moving. Wanted to talk a little bit about Trump's obsession with imperialisms and how that's connected to whiteness. I'm reading. Hold on, y'all. I'm reading. And what I don't understand your argument. The dude from Mali ain't it. I don't know what you're talking about, Anthony. Okay. Moving back. This obsession with imperialism. If you know what I mean, Donald Trump has been openly talking about expanding the United States footprint, right? He wants to take over Greenland. He wants to annex Canada. He has military plans about the Panama Canal. These are not just theoretical things. This dude is really out here doing that work, right? And it made me think of when Richard Spencer was y'all saw him, he was speaking at CPAC. This was after Charlottesville, and he's talking about white men as conquerors, right? And this is what Trump is leaning on. This idea that white masculinity is best articulated via colonization, right? That whiteness is about conquering. And in some ways that's right. Whiteness is about conquering. That's why it's so destructive, right? And it requires the type of mindset that Elon Musk tweeted about, and when he said that empathy is the bug of Western civilization. It might not have been CPAC, Rib. It might have been somewhere else. He was speaking somewhere, and he was talking about white men being conquerors after Charlottesville. And you can see, right? Like it shouldn't surprise us that Nazis like Musk and white nationalists like Trump and Musk and Richard Spencer and, let's tell the truth, Stephen Miller, and a lot of people in Trump's administration, that they are so obsessed with imperialism, with expansion. Because, again, what whiteness has done is created such a hole in our spirits, such a disconnect, that we have to inflict harm. We have to go out and prove our worth all the time because we don't get it internally. We don't get it intrinsically. Being good fathers isn't what it is. So Musk got X amount of kids running around here with all this, and, you know, by all accounts, not really the world's dopest dad, right? Yeah, he'll be the first one, or his group, Mega, would be the first ones to want to point at black fathers or poor fathers for being absentee, free from any critique or any analysis of systems and mass incarceration and things like that, let alone the accurate statistics which show that actually black fathers and poor fathers are actually the most present in their households, right? What's up, Strawberry Frog? Morehouse 69, how you doing? Thank you for being here. Make sure you like this. And so this connection to whiteness, imperialism, should make it very clear why whiteness comes with so much violence, right? Why it can't be disconnected from settler colonialism, and why there's the military budgets of universal conquest are never questioned, right? In the world of waste, fraud, and abuse, military budgets are never brought under speculation. Never. It's worth asking ourselves why that is. It's worth asking ourselves why that is, right? And it comes from this need to expand, this need to inflict harm, impose our will on other people. That is a sickness, y'all. That's a poison. When you can't just live in harmony, when your end goal isn't right relationship, isn't just to be good, that's a problem. That's a problem. And I'll stand 10 toes down on that. I will stand 10 toes down on that. Right? So I wanted to make sure I touched on that a little bit, because it's real. Like I said, I'm in the A, but I'm from Minnesota, and right now Minnesota's getting charged from the tariffs of electricity. They're getting taxed, and it's because Canadians aren't taking it lightly when Trump talks about wanting to annex them, wanting Canada to be the 51st state, right? It's also, I want to be clear, why Trump bows down to Putin, right? Why Trump could call Zelensky a dictator. And I'm not no Ukrainian stan or Zelensky stan. I know that there's some funny style stuff there as well. I'm not a like, oh, communist Russia is the problem. I do know a dictator when I see one. Putin's definitely that. I do know an illegal war of aggression when I see one. Russia invading Ukraine is definitely that. It's the same way I know that uh, Gaza is a genocide, that the settlements in the West Bank are illegal, right, and that the expansions into Syria and Lebanon are illegal. Uh, we know that when we see that, and it's we have to have more clear values disconnected from the values of whiteness, which are conquering and consumption, and this hope to fill the need that our disconnect, that whiteness is disconnect, has on us with violence. Um, it's gonna destroy the world, y'all. Sadly, it is destroying the world. Yeah. Um, I told y'all I was tired tonight. So last story before we get up out of here, before I take questions and we get up out of here. Thanks for being here, BJ. Go ahead, Miss J. If y'all could like this live, that would be bomb. Go ahead and like it, share it with your friends. The next story is a little lighthearted. As y'all know, or you don't know if this is your first time, I appreciate y'all being here. Your boy is Irish. We're from County Cork, free Derry, free Ireland, occupied territory for sure. And Monday was St. Patrick's Day, right? And so I wanted to talk about St. Patrick's Day, not in the same way that you're probably used to hearing about it. I want to talk about a group of people called the San Patricio Brigade. The San Patricio Brigade is a group of Irish American soldiers that were fighting on the southern edge during the Mexican American War. And they saw that they were fighting fellow Catholics, that they were fighting that the Mexicans and those Catholics were fighting the English Protestants, the same people that were colonizing their homeland. Rip, I wish you would. I told you, you can jump on here anytime. I'll eat you up all day long on here. You got scary last time, remember? Oh, I'm sorry, I got tired. You scary, bruh. And anyway, back to the San Patricio Brigade. I said I wasn't going to feed the trolls, but I guess I am. They switched sides. And they fought for Mexico and in the Mexican American War. And I want to celebrate them on this St. Patrick's Day. I want to celebrate the white folks who didn't subscribe to whiteness. I want to celebrate the way that Irish folks stood up and fought for abolition. The way that they held Frederick Douglass down, the way that they fought against colonialism, and the way that they're still fighting against it today. Ireland has been one of the strongest, most ardent supporters of the South Africa's case again in the ICC against Israel. So Ireland has a long history of this. St. Patrick's Day should not just be about green beer, leprechauns, and all that. It should be about resistance. It should be about justice. And it should celebrate a people that have survived a whole lot, and whose model we can learn a lot from. Not the Conor McGregor type of Irish, though. Different type. All right, y'all. So we are at that point in the night. Those are all the stories that I wanted to cover. Open to questions. This is where the trolls come out. If you're watching on TikTok, please go ahead and like this. As we're waiting for questions, remember you can join DEI 2.0, new rules, new tools. It's a pay as you go, pay what you can situation. We're gonna have some heavy hitters in there, little guest spots, but it's facilitated by myself and Anika Naila. Please jump on there. What questions do we got tonight, y'all? Kevin, how you doing? Deb Cash, how you doing? Strawberry Frogs joined like 14 times. You good? Oh, you know what? Yeah, we didn't even. I also want to talk about free Mahmoud Khalil. That's wild. That is wild. What's happening to him? Um, the attack on our rights, on free speech, on free press, is chilling. It's chilling, y'all, and it's gonna take all of us. It's gonna take all of us. I'm not seeing no questions, y'all. So I think we're gonna go ahead and call it. We had a quick one tonight. Here for a good time, not a long time. Make sure you follow on TikTok. Like this. If you're watching right now, go ahead and give this a like. Uh, if you're watching on YouTube after, please like it, share it, all that. And we'll see y'all next week. I'll be hitting you live from the Privilege Institute's WPC next week. Peace.